Okay, so day number 9 of the World Cup, and straight up, it was the best day so far. I know Portugal played and I'm obviously biased, but still, even before Portugal versus Uruguay had kicked off, it was already a contender for best day. First things first, here's your prescribed funny moment. For some reason, a bunch of fans were just jumping rope, and there wasn't even a rope. And if you think those guys were oddly cheery, then look at this clip of Kun Agüero dancing with some kids for no reason. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, it's time to focus on the matches. Cameroon versus Serbia. It was one of the best matches at the World Cup so far. Finally waking up for the early kickoff was worth it. Just take this into consideration. Across all of the other 6 early kickoffs, there were 8 goals. That's it. But in this one single match, there were 6. It got heated right from the start, with Serbia hitting the post in the early stages of the match. Inside just 15 minutes, they could have been 2-0 up, but then against the flow of the match, Cameroon scored. They could have capitalized on this and just held on to their lead, but remember how yesterday I told you how Onana had been removed from the squad because the coach insisted that he wanted him to play in a more traditional way. Apparently the problem was that Onana refused to take long goal kicks. I kid you not, after they scored, the goalkeeper that was brought in to replace him kicked it long, which, considering the Serbians' physicality, led to a set piece, and from that, Serbia equalized in injury time, which sent Cameroon into a meltdown, with Serbia managing to score their second goal right after the first, against all odds going into the break with the advantage. Onana must have been laughing his ass off watching from home. After all, by halftime, his replacement Davis Depassi had conceded 2 goals and made a total of 0 saves. It was a horrible performance, really. And then, to make things even worse, just as the second half starts, they score again. Out of nowhere, Serbia were up 3-1. But that's when Aboubakar came in, and he was the hero of the match. He completely took over the match, and after just 8 minutes, he scored the most unbelievable chip you've ever seen. He stopped for a second, sent the ball sky high, and as it comes down, it goes straight into goal. Just unthinkable. But for a second there, it was declared offside, but then VAR came to save the day, which is not something you hear often. But Aboubakar still wasn't done. Just 3 minutes later, another incredible run by him, and once he gets close to goal, instead of scoring again, he passes it to the side and Choupo-Moting gets the goal. It's 3-3, and from there on out, the match was just unbelievable. One shot after the other and nothing went in. A 3-goal draw was the end result. And right after that came South Korea versus Ghana. Remember when just like a few minutes ago I told you the other match was one of the best so far? Well, South Korea versus Ghana was literally rated on SofaScore as the best match out of the World Cup so far. Just picture this, South Korea all by themselves took 22 shots. They also crossed the ball 35 times, and 15 of those crosses found a teammate, which is literally the all-time record for completed crosses in a World Cup match. As the game started, South Korea had the upper hand for a long time, but still they couldn't hit the target. And then, one set piece, the ball goes into their box, and in the middle of all that confusion, Ghana scores. And if that was surprising already, then they score another. 2-0 at halftime was an extremely tough result for South Korea, but then the second half started and man, they finally hit the target at the World Cup. It had been 156 minutes of game time. And then, just to mess with us, they scored 2 goals in the space of 2 minutes and 48 seconds. It honestly seemed like they did it on purpose. They almost seemed destined for this unbelievable comeback, but then, to frustrate South Korea just one more time, Ghana scored again. By the end of the match, you would be left scratching your head, wondering how South Korea didn't manage to get the equalizer. They got 7 shots on target just in the second half, there were crazy saves, goal line clearances, and still, at the end of the day, Ghana won. But there was still time for 2 more things. First of all, Paulo Bento, South Korea's manager, got himself a red card for arguing with the referee, which is funny, because there's only been one other situation at World Cup where a manager was shown a card, and it was Paulo Bento again in the first match. And besides that, we also got a shot of this woman who for some reason was wearing a Jabulani on her head. Then came Brazil versus Switzerland, which immediately went kind of viral because there was a fake Neymar on the stands. Don't ask me about it, I'm not sure why. Then, once it started, it was the usual Switzerland match. Brazil trying and trying, but not being able to get a goal. Switzerland always very compact and extremely well structured in defense. And even when Brazil finally managed to get a shot on target, there's Ian Sommer there to stop them every time. Before halftime, out of nowhere, the lights went off at the stadium. Once they had dealt with those technical problems, the game went right back to where it was. And around the hour mark, the ball finally hits the net. But to the dismay of all Brazilians, Vinicius' goal is ruled as offside. All in all, in the end, it took 82 minutes for Casemiro to get the volley, hit it with the outside of his foot, and have the ball rebound on the defender to get the goal. It is what it is, but like, poor Ian Sommer. The man was left speechless. Just look at his face as the ball goes in. Also funny, Weverton actually carried Danilo, who had a sprained ankle, on his back, so he could celebrate the goal as well, which was nice to watch. I know this whole thing can seem very worrying for Brazil. I mean, it did take a bit of luck to win this match, but honestly, it's Switzerland. They're incredibly underrated defensively. This could have happened to any team. Regardless, Switzerland did end the match without a shot on target, which means Brazil are yet to allow a single shot on target throughout the whole tournament. The only team who gets close is Ecuador, who only allowed one shot on target, but they conceded from that shot, so I don't know if it counts. I guess the moral of the story is you truly can never let your guard down. Another impressive record by Brazil is that this was their 17th consecutive World Cup group stage match without a defeat. It's literally the all-time record. The last time they got defeated was 1998 against Norway. Put this all together and Brazil have become just the second team to be officially through to the knockouts, which I guess is the perfect cue to move on to Portugal versus Uruguay. Once again, Portugal started the match with complete dominance when it comes to possession, but they just couldn't create any real chances. As some Portuguese guy beautifully put it on Twitter, it was a lot of farting, but not a lot of poop. At the 31-minute mark, Bentancur somehow manages to find his way through the Portuguese defense, and Diogo Costa pulls off the unbelievable, like one of the saves of the tournament for sure. A complete miracle. By halftime, Diogo Costa was easily the man of the match for me. As Iker Casillas said it himself, that miracle save was the moment that qualified Portugal to the round of 16. You gotta give value to that. Yeah, seeing Casillas say something like that about him makes me really happy for the kid. He's incredibly talented, and after that mistake in his last match, he really needed that. Still, after that save, Portugal got back on top, and eventually Bruno Fernandes got the opener. It was given to Ronaldo at first, but then FIFA ruled that it had been scored by Bruno. Honestly, seeing the replays on Twitter, I'm pretty convinced that Ronaldo got a touch on it, but who cares? Even if he didn't touch it, he deserves some praise. As David Villa said after the match, I don't think Ronaldo touched it, but without him, it's not a goal. Then the match got a lot tougher. Arrascaeta and Pellistri came in and were some of the best players on the pitch. Pellistri seemed unstoppable. Rafael Guerreiro was really struggling to keep him in check, and eventually they even hit the post. Then at around the 90-minute mark, Bruno goes on a run, puts it between Jimenez's legs, and as he tried to stop his fall, he got a hand on it. The referee checks the VAR and gives the penalty to Portugal. I get the whole drama, what was he supposed to do with his hand and all of that, but the thing is, if he doesn't use his hand, Bruno is definitely getting past him and scoring one of the goals of the tournament at that point. Deliberate or not, his handball would have completely changed the course of the game, and in my view, it should have been a penalty. No matter what, Bruno scores and becomes, in my opinion, the man of the match. He's on 4 goals and 2 assists in his last 3 matches, if you include that friendly against Nigeria just a week and a half ago. On top of that, before the end of the match, he still managed to hit the post once and to force Rocher to make an incredible save on another occasion. With just a little bit of luck, can you imagine 4 goals from a midfielder in a World Cup match? The last time a player scored 4 goals in a match at a World Cup was 1994 when Oleg Salenko scored 5 versus Cameroon. We were this close to history. Regardless, there's a lot of people already talking about the possibility of him being the best player in the tournament. Personally, for me, Kylian Mbappe still takes that title, but I'm honestly really happy to see people giving Bruno some value. With it all said and done, Portugal become the third team to be officially in the round of 16, so, you know, I'm very happy. Another thing that this match has led to is the fact that the game that will decide the other team that will make it out of Group H will be Uruguay versus Ghana. That's going to be incredible. If you somehow don't get the relevance of this matchup, the only other time they ever faced each other was in 2010, and well, it was a World Cup quarter-final, they were tied 1-1, and in the final minute of extra time, Asamoah Gyan got a header, and no joke, Luis Suarez cleared it from the goal line using his hand. Obviously was sent off immediately, and Ghana got a penalty, but then Asamoah Gyan missed. And you could literally see Luis Suarez celebrating on the sidelines. Eventually they went into a penalty shootout, and Ghana lost. It was one of the most incredible moments of madness in World Cup history, and Ghana will certainly be looking for revenge. It's gonna be one to watch for sure. Which actually describes a lot of the matches coming in the next few days, because despite the fact that we have arrived at the final match day, only 2 out of the 32 teams have been ruled out completely. Everyone else still has a chance to qualify to the knockout stages. In the end, all of those goalless draws actually turned out to make the tournament a little bit more interesting. So yeah, I guess that's it for today. Go Portugal, and I'll see you tomorrow.